Welcome to Vision Part 3. We're going to be talking about vision from the life skills of leaders, and this is part of our leadership curriculum that we do in our program in the school. It's part of that, but really this part is a little bit different. In our classes in our school, we're going to be working on the physical implementation of it as a kind of as an instructor, but also so that you can learn to speak in public, you can learn to perform, you can learn to present, and you learn some additional physical skills. So this is really designed in those here in those classes to get you to be excellent when you're out in the world, in work, if you're a kid, when you're successful in work later, to make you more successful, and to be successful in everything you do. So that's why this is success training, in addition to our leadership training that we do normally. All right, so what we're gonna do, last time we talked about goals, our theme is vision. Vision is the big picture of what you do. The next step is, after you have a vision of what you're gonna be, who you're gonna be, and again, for parents of kids, this means that you pick that for your kids. You're not gonna pick the job they're gonna do. Hopefully they are gonna be strong enough because of your help and your good parenting for them to be able to pick an amazing career for themselves. But our job as parents is to make sure that we bring enough to them so that they can then be very strong about picking a very successful career and being very good within that career. That's what our job is as parents. So we're gonna, though, help them with goals and help them set goals that are real goals. And in part 2, we talked about what real goals are and setting SMART goals and going through that. What we're going to talk about today is a little bit different. Once we set goals, and let's just review that really quick. We're going to review what SMART goals are. Again, goals have to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and have time. So they have to be SMART. Specific, measurable, real, attainable, relevant, and have time. So this is really important to remember because be confident is not a goal. Be strong is not a goal. None of those things are goals. I see that happening all the time where people are setting goals that don't meet these criteria. It has to be specific. You have to narrow it down to something that's clear so that it's more clear. And all these things are going to fit within the big vision of what you're going to accomplish with your life. They need to be measurable, so I need to know when I get there. So if I'm going to be stronger, I lifted 150 pounds now, I'm going to lift 200 pounds later. That's measurable. I know when I get there. They need to be attainable. So there needs to be something that I believe that I can get to. It needs to matter to you. That's what relevance is. It needs to matter. It needs to make a difference. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about next. And then there needs to be time involved. So time involved. So my writing's a little bit better there. There you go. Okay. So I need to know that I'm going to get to that goal by a certain time. So instead of, let's use our example quick. This is our quick summary. Confidence wouldn't be a goal, but we know that confidence helps get better grades. So being in martial arts would help us with confidence. So perhaps the fact that I'm in martial arts might help me. If I was getting B's in math, a goal might be to get by the end of the semester an A in math. That would be specific. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is because it's an A in math. It's measurable. I know it's going to be an A, not a B. I know when I get the report card. It's attainable. If I got a B, it's attainable because it's only one grade higher. If I was getting Fs, that wouldn't be very attainable. It's relevant. It, of course, would be relevant because that would help me with all kinds of things. If I was better at math, it might help me with getting into a better college. It might help me with my next grade. It might help me understand math better when I go to my next grade. Time, it's absolutely got time in there because it's at my next semester, at the end of my next semester. Okay, so that would be an example of it. Hopefully if there are any questions, of course, by the way, with any of this stuff, you can always email me at seniorsr. I'll write it down since I have this capability here, sr.master.moody@karatebuilt.com. So anybody there can email me at that address. And if you have any questions or you'd like some more specific training on these types of things, you can. All right, good. So let's clear that off and get to our real topic for today, now that we've kind of gone over. So you want to be able to set goals. Next step is to set aside some time. And when I do a full workshop on this, when I come to a school or do a workshop for a corporation and do this, I'll spend an hour, hour and a half with a group. I'll spend the first 20, 30 minutes doing what I just did with you guys. And then we'll spend an hour to an hour and a half just on writing a list of goals. And what we'd like to have is 100 to 150 goals that you'd list out and keep working on refining those so that they meet that SMART criteria that we had. So 100 to 150. So for some of you guys, you're going to take this really seriously and you're going to go back and write these down and take a blank piece of paper. And you might take a couple days to do this. You could write goals for 20 minutes, set aside some time the next day, or 2 days later, write some more goals, set aside some time, write some more goals, set aside some time, write some more goals. That would be how you'd write these goals. You keep writing different goals. And let me give you some ideas of things that you might want to write some goals about. And this might be something, I know you're watching the video, but you might want to write down. And again, parents of kids, these are things that you should be setting for your kids, not your kids setting for themselves. Might be financial goals. How much money do you want to have in your bank account? How much money do you want to have by the time you decide to retire? What age do you want to retire? By the way, while we're doing this, we're only going to spend a couple minutes here, not the hour, hour and a half you really need to spend, but you might want to start writing a few things. What age do you want to retire? Okay, how much money do you want to have in the bank account when you retire? How much do you want to have your house paid off? What date do you want to have your house paid off? It would have to have all of the SMART criteria that we talked about. So there's a lot of financial goals you could write. There's personal goals. So personal goals could be things like maybe you do have some weight or fitness goals that you want to accomplish. Again, put all those SMART criteria in there. It could be a language you want to learn. It could be places you want to visit. There could be travel. I like to put that for me. That's a big thing for me. If anybody knows me and my son, we like to travel. We just went to Buenos Aires to travel. So travel goals, I love that. For parents, I always recommend you take your kids lots of different places so they get to experience new things. So travel goals, that might be something that you put there. And again, put a time in there. When do you want to get to those kind of places? Because that might determine your financial goals. These things can interact. You might want to have for us on the call, martial arts goals. I wanted to test for my 8th degree black belt. I accomplished that goal last year in 2020. That's when you're here seeing the video. But I'm sorry, 2019. In 2019, I achieved the rank of 8th degree black belt. That was a big goal for me. That was easy to make, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and have time. So I have new martial arts goals now to perhaps test for 9th degree black belt. That means I have to do a lot of other stuff to be able to get to that goal. You might have within our school, you've got your next belt, but then you ought to have a big longer term goal of, if you're not a black belt yet, 1st degree black belt and 2nd degree black belt, at least your next 2 ranks of black belt. If you're a 1st degree, you ought to have on your list 2nd degree and 3rd degree black belt. You might have a goal to be an instructor. You might have a goal to own your own school someday, and that's what our job is, to help you with those kind of things. So martial arts goals. Of course, that's relevant for the call for our meeting today. Let's see. There's a lot of other things we could put here, but we don't have time to deal with all the ones you would list. Now, this just gives you some ideas. What you do next is you take some of these ideas and then you'd write them. And here's the trick, and here's the secret. You'll probably get stuck. When I do this for 5 minutes in a short seminar, people get stuck and they write about 20 goals and then it's like, I can't really write anymore. I can't think of anything else. That's when you got to push yourself to write more. That's when you got to just let it sit for a second and then think about other goals that you might have, and other goals, and other goals, and other goals. That's when you're going to be really, really deep into the goals that you're setting. And what happens is, kind of magically, is the goals that you write down after you've written the first 10 or 20 and you get stuck, the ones after you get stuck are often the ones that become the most important to you. They're the ones that maybe because they aren't ones that you think about on a day-to-day basis, but might even be more relevant to you. It might be more important. And we're going to come back to why relevance is the most important thing that you need to think about when goals are being set. So this is a good start. Start making your list. Keep adding goals to it. Make sure you spend at least, I'm going to give you a small goal to start with. Make sure you spend at least 15 minutes. Just give me 15 minutes on this. You don't have to spend more time than that. Give me 15 minutes on it and write these goals down, have them on a list. And when we get to our next workshop, on part 4, we're going to be able to help you with how to turn these goals into something that's going to help you accomplish. Remember, what we said before was 10 to 100 times more results are going to come out of setting goals. But I want you to get more towards this end, 100 times more results. The way you do that's going to be really built into the next part that we do on part 4, which is going to be the workshop in how to set goals in a way that gets you a lot more results in your life. Okay, so you got to give me that 15 minutes. Remember, I just asked for 15 minutes. Some of you will take this really seriously. Of the people on the call here, I'm not sure which ones. Some of you are going to take this really seriously. For parents of kids, this is your 15 minutes. I wouldn't even sit with your kids on this. Just 15 minutes. What goals do you have for your kids? Maybe a different 15 minutes for yourself. Please, even if you're not a student, I invite you to do that. This is going to be perhaps the most invaluable 15 minutes. If you want to be a go-getter, do 30, 40 minutes if you want to push yourself a little harder. But after that 15 minutes, you'll have enough on your list that then I'll show you what the next step is in terms of turning this into something that's gonna get you to this bigger result time. Okay, everybody? I hope that was helpful for everybody, and we'll see you at the next workshop. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to next time.